Thanks very much, Abby. Once again, it's a pleasure to be in front of the Resource Rising Stars investor audience. AAR was last in front of this audience, would have been in November last year. Back then, we spoke about our Mandila project and our journey from explorer to mine developer, and then on our pathway to production. So today, I just want to fill you in on that journey and how we're progressing thus far. Now, in relation to the gold price, today and into the future, I've got no idea what the gold price is going to do. I mean, Peter Costello passed some comments early this morning, but what I will say is with government debt spiralling upwards in all of the world's developed economies, I think gold is likely to play an increasing role as a neutral global reserve asset. And that being the case, it makes investing in gold, or makes for a fantastic backdrop for people investing in whether it's physical gold, gold producers, or gold explorers like AAR. So, as an investment proposition, if you want exposure to gold, AAR has a bona fide deposit that is growing, and we certainly tick that box. So AAR's tenements are located around Kalgoorlie and Kambalda. It's a fantastic area to be exploring in. We are 100% owners of our gold ground, and we have no third-party royalties to contend with. The area is extremely well serviced from an infrastructure perspective, which allows for cost-effective exploration all year round. We do not need to have a break for a wet season or anything like that. Corporately, we've had a stable board since the new management team joined January 2020, and we have a management team that has the technical and corporate experience to take Mandila from exploration into mine development and then ultimately into production. This is the same team that delivered a close to 3 times return for our shareholders in just over 3 years from IPO when Silver Lake took out Egan Street Resources in December 2019. Now, typically I'm loath to put market comparators up, but certainly AAR at the moment presents as very good value on an EV per ounce basis. Certainly when you compare ourselves to our peers and when you consider our resources are all in the one simple mining operation, and we're also very much on the early part of our growth story as a discovery. So the cover slide that I had up before had the phrase on the road to 1 million ounces, and that's exactly where we're going. In the 11 months since we last fronted the Resource Rising Stars Investor Conference, we've reported results for 250 drill holes for 36,000 metres of drilling. We put out MET results that absolutely de-risk this project from a gold recovery perspective. So my background is as a metallurgist, and these recovery numbers are as good as they get. I mean, it was a 97% recovery on a 1 gram ore body. Simple metallurgy equals low risk. Now, in May of this year, we announced our maiden resource estimate of 500,000 ounces. Less than 3 months later, it was actually 82 days afterwards, in August of this year, after we incorporated just another 8,000 metres of drilling, we actually increased that resource by 33% to 665,000 ounces. So mid-August of this year, we got the drill rigs turning again, and we currently have an RC and a diamond rig on site. We've reported results for another 9,000 metres. We've got 7,000 metres of drilling in the ground that we're waiting to report on, and we're putting about 1,400 metres of RC and 300 metres of diamond into the ground each week. There is no doubt that as we advance Mandila, it will get bigger. Okay, so now I want to focus a little bit on the geology at Mandila. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a MET by qualification, so I'm not going to go into a great deal of detail. If you do have some questions, Julie Reid, our geology manager, will be floating around the booth over the next 2 days, so you can ask her. But in simple terms, Mandila is a monzonitic granite intrusive. So Mandila East, which is that northern ore body on that slide, basically sits on a bend in that granite and a structural break, whereas Mandila South is a little bit different in that it's closer to the contact of the sediment intrusive. The other thing about Mandila that's different is in the diamond core, we see really large zones, up to 30 metres, of calc silicate alteration. So it's just indicating that there is a much bigger fluidisation event that happened at Mandila. We've also seen visible gold in that calc silicate alteration at Mandila. So we're yet to really put this together, but it certainly has positive implications for additional gold mineralisation as we continue to explore. So the host rock is this monzonitic granite. For it to actually be gold mineralised, there needs to have been a demagnetisation event. So it's a magnetic low compared to its surrounding rocks. Now, the areas of mineralisation are within these magnetic lows, and they're almost always associated with veining and sulfides. So we need the right structural setting to allow this alteration to happen. Then you actually need there to be later stages of alteration where the quartz veining has been introduced. And then when you get the right conditions, you get higher densities of quartz veining, and if you have the right chemistry, then you actually get the deposition of gold, which is what leads us to some of our really large, high-grade zones of mineralisation that we've actually reported within this resource. And it also allows us to grow the resource base really quickly. It's quite a large intrusive, and we've seen up to 14 different types of alteration mineral groupings. So it's actually relatively complex rock. Within that alteration, we see the extensional veining and laminated veining. They're the two styles of quartz veining that we see. The extensional veining is actually pretty widespread, but the laminated veining, which is wider, is where we get the real sweet spots in the ore body. And that's what provides us with the highest grades. So why do we have a metallurgist standing up here trying to give an investor audience a lesson on geology? Well, that goes back to that cover slide, and the cover slide has the phrase, "on the road to 1 million ounces." So AAR's tenure at Mandila covers the entire western side of this monzonitic granite. We've drilled a lot of metres here since 2019. I think it's 67,500 metres, and obviously growing at close to 2,000 metres a week. So our knowledge of this large gold system is continually evolving. We've got detailed magnetics, which you can see on the slide. We have our structural interpretation, and this interpretation becomes more and more informed with every single diamond drill hole that we put into the deposit. And as we log the diamond drill core, our understanding of the alteration styles, our understanding of the vein density, our understanding of the vein chemistry, all of this is building. So when you combine those three things, you end up with this geological toolkit, a really powerful toolkit for us to vector in on more gold at Mandila and grow to 1 million ounces and then beyond. So this slide, the key things on this slide, just shows a few of the things that we're working on. So the confluence of the magnetic lows and where we see structural breaks, they're really important. They're important in forming Mandila East and Mandila South. So analogues of those are obvious targets for us to continue to drill. Secondly, deviations that we see along the sediment intrusive contact. They're also significant targets that we need to test. So a bend in the granite or a fault or a structural break are places where we're keen to drill. And then when we look inside the high-grade zones of Mandila East, where we get the extensional veining and we get, more importantly, that laminated veining, these are really likely areas for us to target for lateral extensions. And lateral extensions will very, very quickly build on our ore body. So just to focus on the resource quickly, 19.8 million tonnes at 1 gram per tonne for 665,000 ounces. That's where we are today. This is constrained within a pit shell, and we've used an Aussie dollar gold price of 2,500. What's really pleasing is that the economics and the geometry of this deposit are very robust. So if we run it at $2,000 an ounce, so effectively a reserve price optimisation, we're still getting 90% of these ounces converting in a $2,000 gold price environment. The resource remains open at depth, and we're currently drilling the gap between Mandila East and Mandila South. So we're almost certain that this is going to join into the future. There is absolutely more growth to come. To put it into context, we added 165,000 ounces to our maiden resource in 82 days from 8,000 metres of drilling. Since that upgrade, we've put 9,000 metres into the ground, or we've reported on 9,000 metres. We've put another 7,000 metres into the ground, and as I said, we've got 2 drill rigs turning as we speak. The next slide is a planned view of the drilling that's been completed and some of the future drilling that we have coming up. The image is from our last exploration release, which was only last week. The drill results that are listed on the right, these are all extensional drill results. So they sit outside the resource and they will make it bigger at the next update. The 1.4 metres at 28 grams, to put that into perspective, that was a geotechnical hole. We weren't even targeting gold. It was supposed to be located on the eastern periphery of the pit wall. It now sits inside the pit shell. It's outside the resource envelope. it will add ounces to the resource, and it also gives us targets for us in terms of drilling that eastern periphery. MDRC 472 and 473, the next two holes listed there, we were testing a southeast corridor of mineralisation. Specifically, we were testing to see if we could extend that to the north. We got some fantastic first pass results here. So an RC hole 472, 34 metres at 1.5 and 28 metres at 1.2. So there's 84 gram metres of gold in that hole. In 473, it was 10 metres at 3.5, 61 metres at 1.1, and at the bottom of the hole, there was another 6 metres at 1.1. So over 110 gram metres of gold in that hole. RC hole 466, which is a further 80 metres north along that southeast corridor, returned 17 metres at 1.4. So just with those three drill holes, we added 160 metres of strike to that southeast corridor. Again, that area between Mandila East and Mandila South that you can see on the image, that's currently being drilled. And the reason we're drilling that is we're following up some broad low-grade zones of mineralisation, 32 metres at 0.8 and 37 metres at 0.8 in diamond drill holes 342 and 250. Sorry, how much time have I got, Abby? Shit. Sorry, excuse my French. I'm always good on this. Okay, so just quickly on that, EOS is all the way down at the bottom right. That's an in situ shallow zone of mineralisation. It's actually high grade, 3 metres at 8.6, 4 metres at 3.5, another 4 metres at 3 and 4 metres at 3. We've got historical drilling that shows that that should link up to Mandila South. And again, it's outside of the resource envelope. And I'm almost 100% certain that converts when we next do our update. So there is certainly a lot happening at Mandila. So as long as we can maintain access to drill rigs and geos, then we'll be drilling here. I'm going to skip the next two slides because Abby is a very mean taskmaster, and I'm going to go to the key takeaways. So my apologies. Just on that, key points for you guys to take away is that this management team has the technical skill set to deliver, and we have the track record. We have the cash to do what we say we're going to do. We've delivered 665,000 ounces already. We've demonstrated how quickly this is growing, and we're currently drilling now to grow Mandila to 1 million ounces and beyond. There is significant greenfields exploration still to do at Mandila. We're still learning about this deposit, and there is a heap of potential for us to uncover. And finally, this management team is absolutely committed and focused on ensuring Mandila turns into a technically robust and commercially profitable gold operation. Thank you very much.